Prince of Darkness, They Live, Pump Up the Volume, Irreversible, Wreck, A Serbian Film, The Frighteners, and the Vanilla Ice masterpiece, Cool as Ice.
Welcome to 4K Kings. I'm Matt.
Hello, I'm Russ.
And thanks for joining us for another episode.
Thank you kindly.
So Shout Factory released 2 4K discs this week, the first being Prince of Darkness. So this is the third release, so I guess you could say They Live and Prince of Darkness are number 2 and then number 3, respectively, of this deluxe box series that Shout Factory is putting out, the first one being Big Trouble in Little China they recently did. That one wasn't in 4K, that was just Blu-ray. But these two are in 4K, so Prince of Darkness and then They Live. So Prince of Darkness is a 2-disc 4K UHD bundle with a slipcover. It's got the same great artwork that it's always had. That's the weird face with the green slime coming out of the church or something that haunted me as a kid whenever I would see that thing in the video store.
It is a great cover.
It's pretty wild. I've never seen this movie, so I don't even know how that relates or what that is. But it is a great looking art. The box looks really cool for this one. And again, there's a nice slipcover with it. The early reviews on this thing, it's got this, it's got all the typical, upgrades as far as a 4K disc is concerned. It's got the HDR color grading. It's got all the finer details and so on. But what people are really going on about is the mix, the surround mix, the 7.1 Dolby Atmos sound mix. One of the quotes, it shows authority with deep tones, presenting a crisp understanding of scoring cues and sharp dialogue exchanges. So they were going on a little bit about the soundtrack for this film, which is obviously John Carpenter. So I'm sure, again, I haven't seen this movie, but I know what to, expect. And that sounds like, probably a nice enhancement for whatever soundtrack he puts in this film. Mm-hmm. Have you seen this before? Mm-hmm. You have? What are your thoughts? I see that there's a lot of characters from Big Trouble in Little China.
A lot of John Carpenter regulars in it. Yeah, Wang's in it. Ed Shen's in it, I believe.
Yeah, he is. He's in all the screenshots I saw.
Yeah, I love how I'm saying their character names in Big Trouble in Little China. I'm not saying their actual names.
Yeah. Where does this movie rank in his overall filmography? Is this kind of like a passion project for him? Is it like a weird one-off? It's
a lesser John Carpenter in my opinion. But no, if I was someone, if someone walked up to me and said, "Hey, I've never seen a John Carpenter movie. What should I watch?" Prince of Darkness wouldn't be in the top 5. But if you're a fan, you're going to get your John Carpenter fix with it. As you said, the music, the atmosphere, it's still in his heyday of the 80s. But no, in comparison to, say, The Thing or Escape from New York or Big Trouble in Little China, it's not as good as those. I mean, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not as essential as Halloween or Assault on Precinct 13. I'd put above it.
There's a lot of people shouting about The Fog, wanting to get a Fog 4K or something, now that these have come out.
That would excite me more. The Fog's better. Yeah. Easily, the fog is better.
The release itself, outside of the disc and outside of the nice box and the slipcover, like we already mentioned, and it's got some good features on it, they're doing, again, the similar thing that they did with Big Trouble. They're adding in a reproduction of the original poster as well as a 7-inch record. This vinyl is a clear vinyl, but it's got either green or red splatter on it. It looks really cool. And again, it's John Carpenter's soundtrack. I'm sure that's really awesome to hear on vinyl as well. The one thing, though, that I saw that, again, just researching this, I didn't know too much about this release at all, or really this film, just that people were excited that it was coming out. A release of this, like 2 years ago, came out in 4K from Studio Canal, UK. It was like a similar looking thing to, say, like an Arrow release, where there was like 4 discs, artwork, posters, like the whole spread
of releases. Like an all-black cover?
It was different art, and that was the one thing that kind of caught me by surprise, because I really liked the original art. And I mean, it's new artwork. It looks decent. It's got the Donald Pleasance cover right on it, and whatever, still that green, green hue to everything. But again, this came out a few years ago, and I don't know if there's a reason to upgrade. I don't know if people are, comparing and contrasting, let's say, the transfers. This, other than you're not getting the record, it looks like you're getting the soundtrack on a CD instead. You're getting some booklet and some other things. I mean, it's whatever your taste is, I think, at this point.
Yeah, well, I think a big issue probably with this in Studio Canal, I mean, as you pointed out, this is a British release, and the 4K that Screen is putting out is obviously Region A.
But for you and I, who are 4K Kings and have 4K Kings players, we can play anything we want.
We can, but most people do not know that.
They don't.
So,
You clued me into that. We're cluing you in now. If you have a 4K player, you can play anything you want. Get that Studio Canal.
For all you bonehead Americans out there, you could have owned Prince of Darkness in 4K for years now.
Years.
But we'll leave that decision up to you. Whether you want to go with Studio Canal or Scream, it's John Carpenter. It's essential. Pick one up.
So They Live also coming out by Shout Factory in 4K. Same exact sort of bundle. It comes with a reproduced poster, a 7-inch bubblegum pink vinyl, and an action figure of Keith David. I've never seen this movie, but Keith David being in it, they're giving him an action figure. He's got like, what, an AK-47?
Well, think of him in this. I know you're familiar with Big Trouble in Little China. The same way Jack Burton and Wang are, like, they're sidekicks. Keith David is like, there's Roddy Piper and Keith David. They're like the lethal weapon, you know, the two guys together going up against the situation in the movie.
Well, it's funny that they didn't do Roddy Piper. Is Keith David like more of a badass in this movie? Is he kind of more of a fan favorite?
They're both badasses in it, but I mean, the bubblegum line that Roddy Piper, that's why I laughed when you said it's in bubblegum pink. Obviously, even if you've never seen the movie, you know the classic line where Roddy Piper's going into the bank.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
I like the concept of this movie. Again, I never seen it.
It's a blast.
I checked out just the synopsis of it, where he finds a pair of glasses and now he can see like the alien takeover. That's kind of a cool concept,
dude. You'll love it. This one's closer in tone to Big Trouble in Little China as far as like the fun aspect and the action and the spectacle, whereas Prince of Darkness is a little more subdued. They Live is more bombastic. I mean, come on, it's known there's a fight scene between Roddy Piper and Keith David that goes on for, I want to say, 5 minutes. It goes way beyond the point of like, dude, this should have been cut minutes ago. It goes like in the hilarious mode, like, wow, this is still going on. But only in the way Carpenter can do. It's entertaining. It's great. Oh yeah, dude, this movie's a blast. If anyone out there hasn't seen either, just blind by They Live. You won't regret it. Prince of Darkness is more required.
You can pick up any of these in 4K?
Actually, the They Live special edition I have the original one with the buy sticker on that slip, which was even, oh God, that slip alone was going for good money. I mean, I could sell that. I probably will drop in price now that this came out.
Checking this release out, also found out that Studio Canal beat them to the punch on this one as well. They did almost the identical thing that they did with Prince of Darkness, where it was 4 discs, artwork, posters, like the same kind of arrow setup. Like they just did it already. And a lot of the people that I was reading in some of these forums were saying, I'm not going to get this. Like, I'm fine with my Studio Canal release. This is perfect. Like you said, maybe for the US audience, but if you're somebody like us that, you've got the region-free player or a 4K player already, you might be fine if you got the Studio Canal. In fact, if you don't have either and you really wanted to get this, maybe look at the Studio Canal one instead. People seem to really be fine with that. It doesn't come with this record. It doesn't come with this awesome, like, Obey slip box for the record and this great Keith David action figure, which everyone's clamoring for. We break a lot of action figures here. We broke Mr. Slauson from Tourist Trap, one of Russ's favorite movies. And now here we are with, what's this character's name?
God, I don't even remember.
Coming soon, Irreversible limited edition Blu-ray from Powerhouse Films via their Indicator label, out April 21st.
I feel like I'm in a empty corridor by myself. Unprepared for this release.
Unprepared.
I feel like I'm going to be there for like 8 minutes nonstop.
It's more like 11. And this release is just going to sneak up from behind you. And it's almost here. This is a pretty wild movie that I wasn't sure was ever going to get any kind of special treatment. Every so often I would check and see, is anybody ever going to release this in America? Still no one's releasing this in America. However, this is finally getting a release that maybe it deserves, and we're going to go through some of these features, which I'm, again, pretty astonished of the package that this group put together. I don't know Indicator very well, but they have just done an excellent job with this package, this release, everything to do with it. When I first heard that this movie was coming out, it was 2 years ago, and it was in regards to them releasing this film in a straight cut. I was just so disappointed. I was like, why would you do that? Why would you change a movie that people, it's hard to say that you fall in love with this movie, but it's a movie that you like, you respect.
Such a heartwarming film.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely not that, but it's a movie that you respect. It's a movie that is edgy. It's a movie that will leave its mark for sure. But to just change it entirely, it just seemed like bizarre, and there wasn't any indication that. But fast forward to a few months ago, and they finally start showing what this set really is going to be. And not only is the box and the set incredible, but it's got both cuts of the film on it. Thank God.
I wasn't even aware of this cut that you're referencing. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to buy a movie, you're a fan, why would the person behind that film just completely alter it?
Right.
I mean, it makes no sense. Any product, not just movies. Like, hey, you know that thing you love so much? Here, I'm going to completely ruin it.
Right.
And disguise it as here, I corrected my mistake.
You're
Here,
gonna
I
like this
loved
better.
my mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense.
I think, too, it's not a concept that hasn't been done before, playing a movie in reverse and showing the events, unfold in reverse.
I mean, it's literally in the title. It's something
irreversible. The movie itself is a revenge story, and the movie actually opens with him exacting that revenge. And then you kind of have to go backwards to see why was he trying to get revenge in the first place. But then the object of the movie...
It's a harsh gunshot, man. The way that's shot.
It is. It's really harshly done. It's really harshly shot. So then you've got this task of making the beginning the punchline, which they do. The movie feels complete even though it is in reverse. So now you're going to completely take the punchline or the climax of the original film, which is technically the beginning, and reverse that. I feel like it cheapens the movie. That's not maybe what he thinks, but... to me, it doesn't make any sense to end it with the revenge. It was cool to start with the revenge and take it all the way to the point where you're like, damn, this is how this started. That's fucked up how it ended,
And I like how you subliminally dropped climax in there. Another Gaspar Noé film that does not have a proper U.S. release. Arrow did a great job on that from the UK.
Yep.
But that's another one. I would love to see climax in the 4K or a great Region A release of it.
And
for now, I have to get the import.
But this box set is just incredible. I just want to run through some of the details of this thing. Aside from it obviously being in a really nice looking package, the box is really great. It's got the centerpiece sort of scene right on the cover, but that's always been the cover art. But inside of it, on the disc itself, there's a new audio commentary, a retrospective documentary, which includes the entire cast from Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci, all the way to Gaspar himself. There's a special effects showcase with the effects supervisor that sort of breaks down that iconic scene in the middle of this movie, because while it does look extraordinarily real and you can't believe what you're seeing, it was not exactly real. There were some things that were, special effects, the way that it was done to seamlessly make this look like an 11-minute take. But again, that's a little breakdown there for people that might want to see that, which is interesting. Improved subtitles. There's a limited edition 80-page booklet, and there's only 5,000 of these made. So it's very limited, and again, they've pretty much done anything you could possibly hope for. They put together. I like how they refer to this film as French extremism, and I feel like you could say the similar thing about Climax and some of the other films that he does or what his style is. I'm really excited for this. Can't wait to get it. It's out April 21st.
I'll be picking this up as well.
So out now from Arrow is Wreck, remastered Blu-ray, another great film, another great release by Arrow. It didn't get any, super duper deluxe box set treatment like some of these more recent releases like Tremors and some of the other ones that we've discussed lately. However, it's pretty cool that they're even releasing this film, and based on what they've put on the disc, I'm really excited to pick this up. This movie was previously released. You could get it on DVD, I believe, the very first one, and then they put 1 and 2 out in a Blu-ray sort of box set. Both of them were bare bones completely. And then they put a box set with all 4 films that eventually released. They kind of kept going with the series, and they put a box set towards the end that had all 4 in there. Again, all of those were bare bones as well. So they've never really done anything for these movies. And I can kind of maybe understand why, now that they're taking the route of most horror movies where they're just, doing them to death and they don't even really mean anything. And they've done American remakes, like Quarantine with
Jennifer
Carpenter.
I was going to ask you, is Wreck the one with Jennifer Carpenter? I've never seen any Wreck movies or Quarantine.
Yeah, but it's called Quarantine. So they really just
timely.
They pounded this thing into the ground, and it's a shame because this original one is really incredible. And I would say the same thing for the sequel, which hasn't been released yet. It would be awesome if Arrow released the sequel as well. It's one of those rare occasions where a sequel expands on some of the character motivations, some of the plot itself, and really makes you understand the first movie even better than you thought you did in the first place. So with this release, you get 2 viewing options. You get a theatrical and you get a production version. The production version is 3 minutes less, and it's 1080i instead of 1080p. So instead of the progressive scan, it's the interlaced. It's got new and old commentaries. It's got a making of featurette. It's got archive interviews, on-set footage, video diaries, deleted extended scenes. The first pressing gets its the slipcover and a limited edition booklet, which is pretty awesome. So, probably as much as you could possibly expect is going to come out for this film. And really excited that it finally is. Again, maybe at some point soon they'll at least give the second one the same treatment. The third one sort of deviated entirely from the formula of found footage, and so did the fourth one. It was a traditional film as well.
I didn't even realize these were found footage.
They are, and
these completely flew, they're just off my radar.
Yeah.
I don't know what, I don't know anything about these movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little weird to think of now, like, oh, I'm going to go watch a found footage movie, because they've kind of died off in recent years. And this one actually came out when they kind of got some new life. Like, there was, VHS was kind of, rumbling around a few years after that, and Chronicle was a found footage film around that time, which was kind of cool.
It never really died. I see what you mean, though. I think it kind of, ebbs and flows in popularity, but this is a good example of that genre.
It's a hot version of found footage for sure. It's definitely an incredible, visceral movie. It kind of sucks you right in. You're first person through what appears to be, at least in the first movie, some sort of infected sort of situation. Again, the second movie takes things in a different direction from the perspective of 3 kids holding a VHS camcorder that were in the apartment building that these characters in the first movie never ran into. So it's from their perspective. Kind of. And it's from a different perspective, while now and then paths do cross, so you do kind of see, oh, that's the first movie swinging by, and here goes the second movie.
That's a cool concept for found footage.
Well, if you're a fan of Rec or you haven't seen it before, if you're a fan of at least the found footage genre, you absolutely have to see this one. I mean, if you haven't, you're crazy. Out in February 22nd, again, Arrow is going to be releasing a combo pack of 2 of my, I don't want to say favorite films, but 2 films that are really interesting to me that I've always really enjoyed and was really excited to see were getting put back out by Arrow, are Primer and Upstream Color. So both of these films were written, directed, the score was done by this guy, Shane Carruth, who, is an independent filmmaker, and he just put everything he had into making these films. Primer is a time travel story. Russ, you know that I'm a big sucker for time travel. It was very low budget, extremely low budget, but it worked so well. It was very believable. It was like, if time travel was a thing, this could be how it would work. It was that well thought through and put together, even though it was kind of like a little independent film. So big ideas. Upstream Color comes along a few years later, increased budget, better production value, that kind of thing. And again, just a strange concept for a film that really demands additional rewatches, not because you don't get it or because you don't understand it, but because it's one of those things where new things are opening themselves up to you as you are, bringing this movie in. Mm-hmm. Both of these movies are really cool. So Primer itself had only come out on DVD before. Upstream Color had been out on Blu-ray and some digibook. Neither of them ever had any extras. Nothing. Which is pretty shitty, because so much was probably put into them. Not only the movie itself, but the idea, how he came up with it, how he executed it in both movies. You'd have thought that there could have been anything, how he did it. It doesn't matter. And then here comes Arrow, and you've got, one of our favorite companies that always does a really great job of putting things out, but no extras to speak of whatsoever again. It's a combo pack, which is cool. You never really got Primer on Blu-ray, which is cool.
Well, my first thoughts on that is, what's the filmmaker like? Is he the type who maybe doesn't want to talk about his films or do commentaries and featurettes? And just judging by what kind of films Primer, those are, I could kind of imagine that filmmaker being elusive.
I was about to say the exact same thing. You could probably assume that the guy is probably pretentious as fuck. And he probably is doesn't want to explain anything, doesn't want to have to, break anything down. It's this is my process and it's for me only, or, you're a plebe, so why would I get down to that level? But there might be even a more interesting take as to why this didn't happen that I stumbled upon, although I do agree with your analysis. He apparently was dating for a very long time this actress Amy Seimetz, who was in Upstream Color, but she's since done a lot of other things. Apparently, not that long ago, she had come out and stated, that he was basically physically, mentally abusive to her for nearly the entire length of their relationship, and she's so glad that they got out. He was toxic, all these different things. And from what I could tell is that these releases were meant to be released via Arrow Academy. And because some of this backlash started to kind of come about, they were like, let's just put these out and not even put any money towards it. Let's not even ask. Let's just get it out. We already bought the rights. We already got it.
Kind of like what Amazon did with Woody Allen.
Yeah, just get it out. Just get it off our hands at this point because,
The bigger controversy about this release is that it's a double feature.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe Arrow has ever done before.
It's a double
Scream
feature.
Factory has done double features. And with Primer and Upstream Color, these are more recent avant-garde type films. It's very strange to me. And actually, it makes a lot of sense that Arrow Academy would put it out. I mean, that's what Arrow Academy focuses on. But to just kind of get dumped in the more horror genre.
They washed their hands of it.
That's nuts. And like I said, I think it's unprecedented. I don't believe Arrow has ever released a double feature. Correct? Let us know in the comments if we're wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time Arrow's ever done that.
I know, and it's a shame. For all you Primer fans, at least we'll get this on Blu-ray. I don't know, I've got the Upstream Color Blu-ray. It's a nice little digipack already. It's a nice case, it's a nice box. I mean, Primer on DVD, I kind of like the feel of watching it on DVD, to be honest. I don't know that I need it that much crisp. I like that it's lo-fi. I like that it feels, it's like the movie takes place in a garage. Lastly, releasing from Arrow with a date to be determined is The Frighteners 25th Anniversary in 4K. There are no features, no specs released at this point, so we really have no idea what's going to be on it. Previously, we had spoken about our friends at Turbine teasing this release under their label as well, but there's no details on that one either. All that we can tell is that Peter Jackson seems to be involved, so that might raise some good news for some other Peter Jackson titles to come out in 4K. Russ, your thoughts?
Support this so we can get Peter Jackson approved edits and special features on Bad Taste, Dead Alive, Meet the Feebles. Oh, and Heavenly Creatures. I want a great Heavenly Creatures release as well. Yeah, dude, there was already a special edition DVD of this. I don't know if that ever made it over to Blu-ray, because I did own the special edition DVD, which had a lot of features. It's Peter Jackson. They know they're going to coast on the Lord of the Rings Association. It's Arrow. This is going to be a loaded set for sure.
It'd be cool. They've only really showed that artwork with, the 4K just black, box, but it doesn't show anything about a slip or a case or if it's going to be a big robust release or just the disc only. I mean, it's 25th anniversary. Peter Jackson's involved. I don't think they're going to mess around with this. I think this is just a really early release to tell what's coming out. Released by Well Go USA is Possessor 4K Uncut. So this is a 4K Ultra HD edition. The Cut edition has actually been released on Blu-ray as well. I own this film. I checked this film out. It is really cool. The 4K edition is incredible looking. It's a great looking film. If you've seen this movie already, you'll know that the cinematography is wild. The perspectives are sometimes skewed. There's interesting editing. There's all different types of palettes. There's really bright reds and blues and oranges and things that are swirling. It's a very psychedelic experience at times. Those colors really pop in this edition with that HDR grade. Same thing with the audio track. I think we talked a little bit about it in Prince of Darkness, where there's this rumble, there's just this atmosphere that's being created where you're just kind of surrounded by it. This movie definitely did that the minute the credits are rolling. My only gripe, that they didn't include both in one set. They should give you the cut and the uncut together. I don't know why you're releasing two separately. They've done that over the entire history of making DVDs. They've done shit like this. This is one of those cases where I just wish they had, or release both in 4K. And the reason why I say that is this is a very gory, disturbing film when it wants to be. It's a very interesting movie. It's got a really interesting plot, but when the violence hits, it's intense and it's doable. But this uncut version, I was even surprised by when I put it on. There were just some scenes that were the most gruesome scenes that they just figured out a way to make even worse. And I couldn't even fathom that a scene could get worse until you see it. And then it was like, holy shit. And so you're presented with two options. Get the Blu-ray, which is maybe more tame, but still not tame at all, believe me when I tell you this. Or B, get the 4K version and it's fucking balls to the wall. What do you think?
I just think it's irritating. It's price gouging. It's if you're an avid film collector and if you're, David Cronenberg's son, I mean, there's a cult around this. They know they're going to try and milk you for everything you got. Like you said, put it out in one nice set together.
Yep.
If you're going to charge $30-some, like, don't.
Give me the choice.
Yeah, give you the choice. Put them both in the set and you can watch whichever one you want.
Yep.
My first thought, as you said, I haven't seen this yet, and I'm a huge fan of his father's earlier work, which I've heard this is comparable to, at least in the gore sense. I'm actually afraid to watch it because if I end up really loving this, I don't feel like dropping $30+ on an incomplete set.
So when I watched this movie, I watched the cut version because that's all I thought existed. And that's all, to me, it was it. So I watched this thing. So then I buy the uncut version because that's what I want because I'm a 4K king, so I get the 4K shit. So I'm looking at this uncut edition and there's only 1 minute more on it. So I'm thinking, I'll probably blink and miss that. Who cares? I'll just get it. Fuck it. Dude, I put this on and it wasn't like watching an entirely different movie, but again, when the shit goes down, even I was now surprised.
It's just too many options, and I don't know. I'm the type of consumer and I guess movie watcher where you've exhausted me at this point. Is there a difference? Is there not? Then if I like one of them, I got to drop $30+. I don't know. It's like they're making this whole experience.
I'll make it easy for you and for our viewers and our listeners and people that care. Get the Blu-ray. I'm sure that the quality upgrade is not nearly as noticeable as the upgrade in violence that you're going to watch. Unless that's really your thing, like you really want it to the max, then you probably are going to be okay with the Blu-ray. Trust me, the Blu-ray is disgusting as well.
The fact that after one viewing, you watch the uncut and you're noticing that much of a difference in 1 minute of footage added into the edit, that does pique my curiosity. If this wasn't David Cronenberg's son, I would have already given up, is what I'm saying. So, and let's not kid ourselves. In a year or so, they're going to put out an edition with both. Like I said, it's predictable. I don't know, it's frustrating. If you're going to do it, at least drop the price.
Of Uncut and Uncensored. Out this week is A Serbian Film.
My kids love it.
This is a movie for the kids. And for those of you who have seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. Wink, wink. So this was previously released on Blu-ray, but not uncut and uncensored. So Unearth Films got a hold of this thing, and they're putting it out in an uncut and uncensored version. And just like we talked about with Possessor, I can't imagine how much more uncut or uncensored this thing could possibly be. I've only seen the theatrical version, and again, it's the kind of movie that takes everything possible to the extreme and just dares you to keep on watching it, essentially. For those of you that are unaware about what this movie is, just to give some context, it's about a male porn star who he's aging, he's old, he's not in the scene anymore, he's kind of like washed up, and some old acquaintance of his from the industry approaches him with some sort of really lucrative but niche offer, and he's told no details whatsoever, just that he has to, he'll be rich once it's over. And so you're taking not only like a horror movie, you're not just taking body horror and all these different things, but you're adding a sexual element into it as well, which again just takes things makes it a whole new dynamic and really makes it even more disturbing in some of these scenarios. The movie that kind of comes to mind a little bit is 8mm with Nicolas Cage. This kind of has a similar vibe, but again, takes it in a direction that you haven't imagined could be put to film, like in your wildest dreams. So, again, this is a test, I feel like, to watch. There's no details on whether this is an upgraded transfer or anything. There's no new bonuses whatsoever. The first pressing gets a slipcover. We here at 4K Kings love the slipcovers. You get that slipcover in the first pressing. So if you want to watch a Serbian film uncut and uncensored somehow, what they've done, I don't know, you're going to get that slipcover. Again, I don't know why you would need an uncut version of this. I have no clue. I won't watch it. I mean, probably like halfway through the movie, you're already probably to the point where you've seen the most disgusting things you've ever seen on film, period. Probably at that point, only halfway through, you've never seen anything like it. And then it's the way that it ends, the finale of this film. And that's the other thing you're thinking while you're watching it. How is this thing going to end? How is this thing going to conclude? What are they going to possibly do to fuck you up so bad? And sure enough, they figure it out, boy. Let me tell you what, they sure as hell figure it out. And I'll say this, for what it is, And I know you love this saying. For what it is, it works. It's an interesting watch. It's an interesting film. I mean, it's just one of those things where if you are a person that loves movies and loves watching strange cult films, whatever types of stuff that's just out there on the fringes, you've definitely heard of this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, just watch it for the sake of saying you watched it. Just like Possessor, just like Irreversible, just like some of these other movies that are just so, extreme and out there that feel like a test just to get through. This is one of the worst ones. What do you think, Russ? Are you going to pick this up? Do you have any interest in even watching it?
Yes, for the uninitiated, those who do not know, I have actually never seen a Serbian film. I'm familiar with it. I've never sat down and actually watched it, though. I'm curious.
Coming soon in February from Warner Archives on Blu-ray, Pump Up the Volume. One of your favorite films, I know. So there's no news on anything for this. There's no additional features announced. It seems to be bare bones based on Warner's reputation and everything else that they're releasing. I don't think they're going to come out with all of a sudden there's all this extra stuff.
Yeah, what sucks about that is, first off, it was rumored, or I shouldn't say rumored, but more of a fan wish that Shout Factory was going to get Pump Up the Volume into one of their collector's editions, because they had done so with Cuffs, which was another Christian Slater movie that I believe came from the same studio. This is a Blu-ray debut, and it's never been released. It's only been on DVD. It's a beloved film. It really is. It's one of my favorite movies of all time since I saw it when it came out in 1990. I was 8 years old. I mean, this movie shaped me. If you would watch this film, you would be like, oh shit, I can see how that influenced how Russ is. In life.
I would see you in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, the setup is it's a teenager who... He's from New York. They moved to, I believe it's Arizona. He has no friends. He's alone. He's a loner. He's shy. He can't talk to anyone. His parents got him a radio set up so he could talk to his friends back in New York. He can't reach them though, but he goes on every night under a fake identity and does a radio show. And basically he starts exposing all the corruption that's going on in the school. And, it's teen angst. He's voicing things, and it becomes popular because all the other teens in the area start listening. It becomes a big thing, and not a perfect movie. It is a great teen film, though. I'd argue to say one of the best teen films of all time. A great soundtrack. This film came out in 1990, but it features music from Beastie Boys, Soundgarden, Ice-T, The Pixies, Henry Rollins.
Were they all new songs for the film?
Not all. I mean, the most recognizable song from the film is Leonard Cohen's Everybody Knows, which is a classic. A lot of music, a lot of artists who went on to become bigger, Sonic Youth even. It's a great soundtrack. Another interesting factor, this is Christian Slater's favorite film that he's done. Wow. So again, why is there no features? I'm sure he would jump on commentary or something. He stated this is his favorite role and his favorite movie he's ever done. He's saying that above True Romance. He's saying that above Heather. Some great movies that he's done. Yeah. You can say he's a Jack Nicholson impersonator all you want, but he's done some good movies,
So I guess you'll be picking this up in February?
Oh, definitely. Even without features, I don't care. This is a staple of mine.
Is it more a nostalgic thing, or do you think this is a blind buy?
It holds up. It holds up. No, the nostalgia will benefit the experience, but and it's, of course, it's 1990. It's the tail end of the 80s. Some of the fashions are a little questionable. Its heart's in the right place. It was ahead of its time. There's the scene that involves homosexuality, suicide, and it holds up remarkably well. And the fact that they were even making some of the statements on some of those issues in 1990.
The director and writer's name is Alan
Alan Moyle.
Moyle?
He did a movie in 1980 I love called Times Square, which hasn't been released on anything. What he ended up doing after Pump Up the Volume, though, is reprehensible. He made Empire Records after this.
I could see where he went from here to there.
Oh, I can't, because I can't stand Empire Records one bit. As Alan Moyle even said, basically, he watched Clerks and said, let me make that. Let me do it. That's what was going. Kevin Smith was the up-and-coming thing at that time. Pump Up the Volume is his masterpiece.
So Pump Up the Volume, yes. Empire Records, no.
No, God. On the subject of Irreversible and Serbian Film, you even use the phrase "to the extreme." That's a nice segue for what Kino Lorber is delivering us. What's in store?
Are you referring to the Cool as Ice Blu-ray that's being released on May 4th?
Word to your mother.
Word to your mother. So Cool as Ice being released by Kino Lorber.
Kino Lorber's doing the Lord's work on this one.
It really must be. I mean, I can't believe that this is a movie that they're putting out. This seems so random for them to be putting out. And
have you ever seen it?
I haven't, but I want to read the direct synopsis because I found it to be so humorous. Johnny is a rebellious rapper whose ice-cold heart thaws when he sets eyes on Kristen Minter. They couldn't be more different. She's a straight-A student whose biggest thrills come from horseback riding. He's a moody misfit who tears up the street in his yellow motorcycle. It won't be easy to win her heart, especially with Kristen's athletic ex-boyfriend blocking the way. But when her dad gets in trouble with gangsters, Johnny proves his worth. What on earth is this movie?
Spoiler alerts, but that troublesome boyfriend...
Drop that zero and get with the hero. Excuse me?
She does drop the zero and get with the hero.
I remember that from the trailer. That was a very iconic...
That does happen.
Now check this out. Kino Lorber, who we know puts out releases with really nothing else on it. For this release, they've done it again.
They've done some good work.
I'm
good. Honestly,
they're okay.
You trash Kino Lorber a little too hard.
I do.
They put it... Come on, who else is putting out Cool as Ice?
No one. But look who they got this time around. They got an audio commentary from film historians. Film historians, and I put that in quotation marks, film historians Alexandra Heller Nicolas and Joshua Nelson. And there's also a trailer on there, big deal. But
that's more than Pump Up the Volume's going to get.
It is true. But I want to draw your attention to one very specific detail, which I had no idea, again, never saw this movie. But this last tagline about gangsters and her dad is played by none other than Michael Gross. Our boy Michael Gross is the dad.
Michael Gross.
Dude,
he
her
is.
dad's
He
Michael
is.
Gross.
I forgot all about. Oh my God, he is. Yes,
it's Michael Gross.
He is. Michael Gross. Day one by.
Day one by. I mean, what more can you say? He looks kind of more like his Family Ties sort of version in this film.
Gross.
Classic Gross, not more of the military Gross that we like from Tremors.
Dude,
but
could you imagine if the Cool as Ice universe went on as far as Tremors? If there was like Cool
Is
as
that
Ice,
what it
and
is?
Michael Gross just took over the franchise and became a white rapper?
So you heard it here first. Get that Cool as Ice. Kino Lorber.
I'm buying
May 4th.
I'm buying it. I've seen this movie more than once. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
You've heard that here first as well. And if you've seen it, comment as well. Tell me what it's like.
Classic film. Classic.
Cool as
Classic
Ice.
soundtrack. Fuck Pump Up the Volume.
Classic outfits. Look at these motorcycles they're riding.
Horseback riding.
Have you seen what Vanilla Ice looks like in this movie?
There's
Holy
a
crap.
great day one by. Thank you, Kino Lorber. Thank you.
Thank you, Kino. This isn't a movie that recently came out. This is something I just stumbled upon, and I had to share it. I wanted to talk about it. We're also big fans of Jean-Claude Van Damme. I know he's big fans of us. And I happened to see that a movie of his called Maximum Risk was released in Germany. Some big deal in Germany, this release. It was an Amazon exclusive over there. And this was a film that he was in 1996 with Natasha Henstridge. And he's kind of got on the cover, he kind of has the look where, like, obviously his best years are behind him. You know, like he's not the Jean-Claude we once knew. So not only are they putting this, movie out in something that they're referring to as remastered picture and sound, but it's coming as an uncut Blu-ray with a 24-page booklet, and it's coming in this gigantic box. It's a huge square box, and you're like, what could possibly be in this thing? So here's the best part. It comes with a hand-painted bust of Jean-Claude Van Damme. There's only 500 of these things being made. But it looks absolutely nothing like him at all. Not even close. This thing looks exactly like Hugh Jackman, first off. He looks exactly like Hugh Jackman. I don't understand this bust. It is for those of you that can't see this, it is supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme bursting out of what appears to be the street with a gun in his hand, and there's a car door that's attached to the statue behind him, as if, he burst through the street and there's a car behind him, so they're trying to give you the whole scene. but it just looks ridiculous in execution, not to mention that it looks like Hugh fucking Jackman.
I can guarantee you underneath that pavement that he's breaking out of, he's doing a split.
He must be. He's definitely, there's two chairs and his legs are
that's
sitting on it.
You know.
A Maximum Risk, I had to look it up because I was like, what is this movie? Why are they putting this thing out for it? So this is...
I'd understand if it was Double Impact.
This was right after Street Fighter. So I feel like Street Fighter was probably one of the first, maybe second nails in his coffin where he was given, you know, a big property like Street Fighter, which everyone probably thought was going to be a hit, and it fucking bombed. Then he came out with like Sudden Death and The Quest. That was strange. And then Maximum Risk. After that was Double Team. And that's with him and Dennis Rodman, of all people, to be in a Jean-Claude Van Damme film. So you know at
Mill
that
Creek
point,
put that out.
it's done. Didn't Mill Creek put that out?
I'm 90% sure Mill Creek put out.
Dude, you're right. They did. They did. They put the VHS thing out, yep. Yeah. And then you had Legionnaire. Then you had The Return of Universal Soldier, Replicant, all these movies that are no good until he made the stellar JCVD in 2008. So we had a slew of just trash after this movie.
Jokes aside, JCVD is a solid movie.
JCVD is excellent.
And I know Van Damme, he can come across as a punchline, but honestly, I like him. In his early stuff, of course, it's full of cheese, don't get me wrong, but I mean, when you compare him to Seagal or Chuck Norris or something, I don't know, Van Damme always had a little bit more of a down-to-earth feel to him than some of his other, you know, action counterparts.
He definitely seemed, like you said, like Seagal just seems like a prick from day one.
Yeah.
Van Damme seems like a guy who came here to be an action star, became one, and then was just swallowed up.
Yeah, just lost.
Just completely swallowed up. And it's unfortunate. Like, look at this, dude, look at this box set. Look at his face. Like, that's not from the movie. That's not like, oh, he got beat up in the movie. Like, that's him. Like, could you imagine having this thing? Oh my God, 500 only. So I guess it's a collector's item.
I mean, 500 only. Imagine years from now, this will be This will be a literal collector's item. Like, did you get that Hugh Jackman bust that came with Maximum Risk? It's going to be a huge thing. Jump on this one. You heard it here first. This is gold. This is a fucking investment. Go out and buy Maximum Risk.
Will someone
right
locate
now.
one of these, buy it in any way that you possibly can, send it to us, and we promise we'll put it right here, and it will always be on this desk. It will always be on this desk for every podcast going
Dude, we
forward.
should do that. We should buy it just to have it on display.
It should be here.
Our
We should have
shrine to
it.
Hugh Jackman and Maximum Risk.
Help us make this dream possible.
I'll go half on it.
Is this it?
It's gotta be. Look at that price.
That's it. Dude, it's Prime. Can you still get it? Yeah, dude, you can still get this fucking thing. 500 people haven't bought it yet. 150 bucks. Not as bad as I was thinking, but
So
I mean,
I'll throw 75 in.
you would get 75 to get this fucking thing?
Jackman
Oh my
bus.
God. Look at it. Wow. 4K Kings first.
You're welcome, Germany.
You're welcome, Germany. You're welcome, JCVD. I hope you get a few more residuals on this movie after we send the droves of fans to get your Hugh Jackman bust, and then maybe you'll discover this film all over again.
Yes, thanks for watching. And again, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Check out our Clips channel, follow us on Instagram, and don't forget to catch us here twice a month for all the Blu-ray and 4K news you need.